Our selection today will be Sing Hallelujah.
The oracles of the UCI. 1 Peter chapter 4, verses 7 through 11. But the end of all things is at hand. Be you therefore sober, and watch unto prayer. And above all things have fervent love among yourselves, for love shall cover the multitude of sins. Use hospitality one to another without grudging. As every man has received the gift, even so minister the same one to another as good stewards of the manifold grace of Elohim. If any man speak, let him speak as the oracles of Elohim. If any man minister, let him do it as of the ability which Elohim gives, that Elohim in all things may be glorified through Yahshua the Mashiach, to whom be praise and dominion forever and ever. Amen. Ephesians chapter 4, verses 29 through chapter 5 and verse 4. Let no corrupt communication proceed out of your mouth, but that which is good to the use of edifying, that it may minister grace unto the hearers. And grieve not the Holy Spirit of Elohim, whereby you are sealed until the day of redemption. Let all bitterness and wrath and anger and clamor and evil speaking be put away from you with all malice. And be you kind one to another, tender-hearted, forgiving one another, even as Elohim for Yahshua's sake has forgiven you. Be you therefore followers of Elohim, as dear children, and walk in love, as the Mashiach also have loved us, and has given himself for us an offering and sacrifice to Elohim for a sweet-smelling savor. But fornication and all uncleanness or covetousness, let it not be once named among you as becomes saints. Neither filthiness, nor foolish talking, nor jesting, which are not convenient, but rather giving of thanks. Ecclesiastes chapter 5, verses 1 and 2. Keep your foot when you go to the house of Elohim, and be more ready to hear than to give the sacrifice of fools, for they consider not that they do evil. Be not rash with your mouth, and let not your heart be hasty to utter anything before Elohim. For Elohim is in heaven, and you upon earth, therefore let your words be few. Exodus chapter 23, verses 20 and 21. Behold, I send an angel before you, to keep you in the way, and to bring you into the place which I have prepared. Beware of him, and obey his voice. Provoke him not, for he will not pardon your transgressions, for my name is in him. Revelations chapter 3, verses 20 through 22. Behold, I stand at the door and knock. If any man hear my voice and open the door, I will come into him and will sup with him, and he with me. To him that overcomes will I grant to sit with me in my throne, even as I have also overcame and am sat down with my Father in his throne. He that has an ear, let him hear what the Spirit says unto the churches.
All right, Shabbat Shalom.
Shabbat Shalom.
Which is peace on Yahweh's holy Sabbath day. Welcome to another holy convocation that Yahweh has enjoined unto us here in Stone Mountain, Georgia. The song selection, singing Hallelujah. First of all, it was a very beautiful song, and I am very proud of the choir and the things that they have, really been able to accomplish. Sometimes you want some other things to happen as far as how things get done, and sometimes you find that Yahweh is making you do it. I remember in the beginning of wanting to have a choir, Lael was asking me to pray to Yahweh, was send a choir director, and what Yahweh did was made her do it. And I think it has turned out very nicely. So praise Yahweh for that. But we have to consider there's those things where he says, I gave talents, some 2, 1, another 5, according to their several ability. Now, the issue is we really don't know what those abilities are, and we think we do. We don't really know what our best is because you ain't been pushed enough, and nobody really wants to be in that uncomfortable situation, but it's in those uncomfortable situations that we find out what we're really made of. If everything just goes smooth, you really don't know how strong you are. You think that you just gonna fold and fold up and I can't handle this. That's because you ain't been through it yet. Go through it a few times, and then that 3rd or 4th time when it come to you, your confidence level is already through the roof. And everybody else is saying, oh, this right here gonna get you. No, it ain't, boo-boo. I done been through this. This ain't gonna get me. I'm gonna make it through this. And you're like, how you know you're going to make it through this? Because of other situations before. So we have to, give Yahweh the room to be Yahweh, and that means everything is not going to start and begin the way that we would like for those things to be. But there's a reason why hallelujah is this highest praise and singing praise to his name. And what was really strange about that is even as we grew up in the church, nobody really used the name of the Father Yah. But out of nowhere, you would see some old lady down in the mother's board saying, hallelujah. Well, wait a minute now. What? If his name Lord, why was we not saying hallelujah, Lord? Now, why would this old lady just up and say hallelujah? Then you look and it would just jump around the church. Now, wait a minute. How do we know why? None of us really asked the question, well, why is that the highest praise? Because we are truly praising his name. We were having a conversation because somebody sent in a question during Bible study, and they were wondering like what Bible we read because we were using the correct names. And you go back, what we use is a study Bible. We just know what the names are, so we say it when we go by it. But within this study Bible, and it's strange because the note is by like Malachi. It's not by the other areas in this book where it's actually discussing the name, and it tells you that Lord was a substitute. It just openly says that in the study Bible that Lord was never there. It was something that they input. And then there's 3 different connotations for Lord. And us not knowing that, we put the same name in all 3 places where we seen Lord. And here it is. We have gone confused about that for decades. And here it is printed in the book. But even in the way that it was printed in the book, I have to believe that it was put there to be hidden. Why would the note be by Malachi? I'm not looking for the name in Malachi. I'm looking for the name in Exodus where it says, I am that I am. I'm looking for it in Psalm 68 where it says, he is extolled by his name Yah. Why would the note be by Malachi? Unless people can say, well, we put it in there, but only certain people gonna find it. And when you get right down to it, that's the way this place, the daughter of Babylon, works. They pass a law and they tell us you can't do this, you can't do that. Then they pull the elite over to the side. Okay, all right, now let me explain to you what the loopholes are. Now, you can't do this, so it seems. But if you go around the side, there's a little hole in the door. You press that hole and you can go through there and get these things. Wait a minute. So they make laws with loopholes, but only certain people know it. So we have to consider that even when these things were translated, it was a little bit of hiding of information purposely. Because the last thing a slave master wants to do is empower his slave. Why would you want to empower somebody to revolt against you? So then you make sure that they teach it in a certain way that these people who ain't supposed to have power don't all of a sudden get too powerful that we have a problem ruling over them. See? And if we consider that, then some things are going to start making sense. I was looking at a program, and it was rather interesting. The program upsets me constantly, and I keep watching it. As it's the History Channel show that they call Ancient Aliens. And they have basically turned everything into an alien. They will deal with a extraterrestrial, but will not mention an angel. That's just, yeah. So the wordplay is very interesting because what you find is a lot of people, they have read this book, they've studied this book. So they say, okay, everything that Yahweh is saying is for the planet Earth. So they said, look, if them black people gonna get in charge, we finna go to Mars. So they already in their spaceships. They said, we getting the hell out of here if them people finna be in control. Because they think that his rules only apply to this planet. So they figure all we gotta do is get off this planet and we straight. So everything has been changed to little green people and things of that nature. It's not angels and demons, it's extraterrestrials. And within that, there was just this little bitty thing. I would always see the name of this production company at the end. And I'm just one of those people from doing programs. I watch certain things. And I knew it had to be something, but I really didn't look into it. So this was like months and months ago. So a couple days ago, I'm watching the program, and the guy, they're starting to try to explain how Lucifer is not bad. You know, maybe Lucifer was the good one. And I'm like, oh man, here we go with this right here. So they trying to flip the whole story around and make, you know, the adversary the good person. And, you know, they brought out certain things as to why they believe, you know, that way. So then one of the guys said, and he's linking it up with Greek mythology, and he says, you know, Prometheus, you know, it was the light giver. He brought the light out of heaven. He is really Lucifer. That's what Lucifer, it means illuminated one. So then I said, well, wait a minute. He says Lucifer is really Prometheus. Then I go back to the end of their program, and the name of their production company is called Prometheus. Oh, so y'all devil worshipers. Do you see how long, though, it take you sometimes to put the pieces together? Now, I've been watching the program all this time, and I'll keep seeing their little name come by, Prometheus, and then it's got a flame in one of the letters of Prometheus. Then later on, you find out that they link him up to Satan. Oh, y'all devil worshipers. So even when you bring forth biblical things, you're giving it from a standpoint of worshiping the devil. And these are major programs that are being advertised in front of us. So it's some things that we have to consider. So just looking at how there's a push to change around everything that is described in here, there's some things that we need to go over. Let's begin today's sermon in Isaiah chapter 6. Because we have been given some images and we've been given some understanding that does not coincide with the things that are written in the book. And if we're not careful, when we see these television programs, it does some things to us, although we won't admit that it does. Because a lot of times we don't really know that it's really working on our thought process. You know, when you consider in almost all of the biblical programs, the person who plays Jesus is white, and the person who plays the devil is black. And most of us have not paid attention to that. What's happening is you're going away with that, with a decision about yourself, whether you know it or not. In that last so-called Bible series, they had a man that was supposed to be playing the devil, and he looked like Barack Obama. What did you think the message they were sending? Even if you go back to that old movie, Jesus Christ Superstar, they had a black man playing the devil. That dude got sick. They went and got another black man to play the devil. So they said, bottom line, the dude who's going to be the devil going to be black. And the one who's going to be Christ going to be white. Simple as that. And people come across with these thought processes, whether they know it or not, you're picking up that indoctrination. When you consider Michael Jackson being raised as a Jehovah's Witness, all of their pamphlets up to a certain point had everybody white in it. Then you look up and every last person in their family got a nose job and a skin bleaching. But when they was children, they were given these pamphlets. This is what holy people look like. And then they looked at themselves and wait a minute. I don't look holy at all. Right. Did nobody tell Michael Jackson he was handsome? So he in turn bleached himself, cut on himself to the point where he needed drugs just to be able to exist during the day. But it was biblical literature that was being passed out that showed absolutely nothing but one color of people. And we got a whole mindset there as to what we believe the devil looked like, what we believe an angel looked like, and it's all based upon other people's previous worship things and the bits and pieces that they took out of this book. So let's start that Isaiah chapter 6, and let's start that at verse 1.
In the year that King Uzziah died, I saw also the Adonai sitting upon a throne, high and lifted up, and his train filled the temple. Above it stood the seraphims. Each one had 6 wings. With 2 he covered his face, and with 2 he covered his feet, and with 2 he did fly.
Now the first thing we see is anytime we hear of any so-called angel, we are given the picture of 2 wings. Now we already see something here that has more than 2 wings. So we're looking at something different. And every time we see, you'll go in somebody's house and they will have a complete list of figurines and they all got wings. And you know the interesting things? When it says angels, they only mentioned one thing. When it talked about an angel, it was always a man. That ain't what we see. We see the women angels, they got wings. And then it says it was someone of a bright countenance. It looked like a regular man. But we put wings on everything. And it's always 2 wings. We got 6 wings here. See, so there's different levels of things that are within the heavens. And we just want to go a place, and somebody done told us that we're going to die and go to heaven, so we want to go to a place that we really have not researched and we really don't understand. If we go to Florida, we at least read, try to figure out what's Florida about. What kind of weather they got down there. You know, what kind of stuff I'm going to run into. Yet people tell me, I'm going to heaven. All right, tell me what you know about it. Well, everybody got wings. Right. Okay, let's see. Go ahead.
Verse 3. And one cried unto another and said, Holy, holy, holy is Yahweh of hosts. The whole earth is full of his glory. And the posts of the door moved at the voice of him that cried, and the house was filled with smoke. Then said I, Woe is me, for I am undone, because I am a man of unclean lips, and I dwell in the midst of a people of unclean lips, for mine eyes have seen the King, Yahweh of hosts. Then flew one of the seraphims unto me, having a live coal in his hand, which he had taken with the tongs from off the altar. And he laid it upon my mouth, and said, Lo, this has touched your lips, and your lawlessness is taken away, and your sin purged. Also I heard the voice of the Adonai saying, Whom shall I send, and who will go for us? Then said I, Here am I, send me. And he said, Go, and tell this people, Hear you indeed, but understand not, and see you indeed, but perceive not. Make the heart of this people fat, and make their ears heavy, and shut their eyes, lest they see with their eyes, and hear with their ears, and understand with their heart, and convert and be healed.
So the common misconception is that the Most High wants everybody to be healed and saved. Everybody who makes a decision. See, there's certain situations that he can see our movement and say, all right, I know your heart is not right with Yahweh, your Elohim. When the brother tried to buy the gift of the Spirit, Peter, Cephas, automatically said, your heart ain't right. Because you thought that you could buy the gift of Elohim. Now, at least the guy has sense enough to say, well, pray for me. Some of us ain't got sense enough to know when to back up. See, we'll just get mad at the holy man. I know you ain't going to tell me my heart ain't right. I don't want nothing to do with you. That man had at least enough sense. He first tried to buy the gift of the Spirit. Then he chastised him. He automatically back up. That ain't us. See, we tough. And we fight all the way down to the why. We fight. We trying to maintain our point until we get one leg in the lake of fire. Then we want to repent. All right, look, he done burnt off that one leg. You know what? I'm sorry. Wait a minute, you didn't feel the heat as you were getting close to it. Trying to be tough. We're going to fight all the way to the fire. This man had sense enough to know, hey man, pray for me then. God, my heart ain't right. I done tried to buy it. You right. I ain't right. But I tell you what, you can pray for me. You in good standing. How many of us got sense enough to know to back up and ask somebody who we think might be in good standing, could you pray for me? Go ahead.
Verse 11. Then said I, Adonai, how long? And he answered, Until the cities be wasted without inhabitant, and the houses without man, and the land be utterly desolate. and Yahweh have removed men far away, and there be a great forsaking in the midst of the land. But yet in it shall be a tenth, and it shall return, and shall be eaten, as a teil tree, and as an oak whose substance is in them, when they cast their leaves. So the holy seed shall be the substance thereof.
All right, I want you to read this definition for a seraphim, and it gets really interesting when you look at the definition of what a seraphim is, because you'll see seraphims, you'll see cherubims. You don't see a lot of things about the seraphim. But read this definition.
Seraphims from H8314.
H meaning Hebrew. It was a Hebrew word. Go ahead.
Seraph from H8313. Burning, that is figuratively poisonous, serpent.
Okay, stop. Now, even when we deal with the things of the adversary, anytime we see serpent, we automatically go into this bad gear and things of that nature. Yet when we talk about there's a certain level of protection around holy things, and he has a poisonous, fiery serpent there. Now, we have always had a thought, look here, we see a fiery serpent, note to self, get the hell on. You know, it's time to leave. Never have we dealt with, okay, wait a minute, there's a fiery serpent that may be near the holy things? Wait a minute, now we didn't get that message. See, and then you look at these pictures, man, when you talking about, you know, do you see all them eyes in there? When you talk about even the spirit, it says the 7 eyes. You got some things in here that's got, you know, all these other eyes. See, and we in a rush to go to heaven, because that's what people done told us. Hey, look, I ain't trying to run into none of this kind of stuff. I don't know what y'all want to run. First of all, we can cut eyes at people and we ain't got but 2. I don't want to run into them with 7. Okay? See, first of all, I don't like people looking at me like that. I'm like, he looking at me with all 7. You know what, Yahweh? Let me go back to earth. I can't. That thing got 7 eyes and it keep looking at me. Look here, let me stay in something convenient for me, because this is some different level stuff up here. And people done told us this is where we automatically going. All right, well, get ready for what you about to run into and this where you think you're going. Because it gets more interesting than this. Go ahead. Let's go to, you finished that?
Yeah.
Let's go to Exodus chapter 25. Oh, some of this stuff, I ain't trying to run into it all.
Exodus chapter 25.
And let's start that at verse 10.
And they shall make an ark of shittim wood, 2 cubits and a half shall be the length thereof, and a cubit and a half the breadth thereof, and a cubit and a half the height thereof. And you shall overlay it with pure gold, within and without shall you overlay it, and shall make upon it a crown of gold round about.
Right, and a lot of these things you'll see that they'll first start and say make the thing with wood, but what has to happen then, of course, then you have to beat metal around that to be able to put gold on it. Go ahead.
And you shall cast 4 rings of gold for it, and put them in the 4 corners thereof, and 2 rings shall be in the one side of it, and 2 rings in the other side of it.
That means so you can carry it without putting your hands on it. See, holy things you don't just touch. Holy things you don't just mess up. And that's part of our issue when we get into the biggest trouble dealing with the Most High Elohim of Israel, is that we don't know how to deal with holy things. So the whole part of this, you put the staves, you know, with your sticks through the rings, you pick it up by the sticks. You do not touch the thing. And when they ended up putting the ark on the cart and it shook, and the brother thought he was doing a good deed, so he put his hand on it to keep it from falling, and the angel of Yahweh killed him right on the spot. So you could call somebody to get killed because you're not dealing with holy things right. And you got a whole different, you know, set of levels of principalities in heaven. And here it is, we don't have any instructions, yet we're ready to go to a place and deal with something that you can touch the wrong thing and die. Because that brother hadn't done anything wrong. He thought he was doing a good deed. He didn't want it to fall. And it scared King David so bad he took off running. He didn't even move the thing no more. He had to go back but see, that's our problem. We ain't never scared. See, we so strong, we keep going. He was scared enough to turn around and go back. And in that pause, what'd he do? Oh, I figure out what I did wrong. The Levite should have been carrying that. Oh, the Levite should have been carrying that. See, them priests supposed to carry that. Oh, them priests supposed to carry it through the little sticks that's supposed to be on it. That's how you're supposed to move it. Then he came with song and dance and then moved it, and it was fine. Yahweh ain't kill nobody. See, he realized when you realize you in error, don't just keep pushing because your pride's here. Well, let's just keep going. Stop. Back up. Go figure it out. People say, all right, we're going to keep going. No, we're not going to keep going because something ain't right. I need to go regroup. We done got to the point where we too proud to say that. Go ahead.
Verse 13. And you shall make staves of shittim wood and overlay them with gold. And you shall put the staves into the rings by the sides of the ark, that the ark may be borne with them.
Borne, that it may be carried with them. Those are the instructions. And when King David messed up, he had to come back to the instructions. That's what you do when you mess up. When you realize you trying to put together a bed or something, and the bed lopsided, and your kid lay on the bed and they keep falling off, you got to go back to them instructions. You know what? That wasn't no extra leg on that. That leg supposed to go on the right side. Right? You got to go back to the instructions and figure out what you left off. Go ahead.
The staves shall be in the rings of the ark. They shall not be taken from it. And you shall put it into the ark, and you shall put into the ark the testimony which I shall give you. And you shall make a mercy seat of pure gold. 2 cubits and a half shall be the length thereof, and 1 cubit and a half the breadth thereof. And you shall make 2 cherubims of gold. Of beaten work shall you make them in the 2 ends of the mercy seat. And make 1 cherub on the one end, and the other cherub on the other end. Even of the mercy seat shall you make the cherubims on the 2 ends thereof. And the cherubims shall stretch forth their wings on high, covering the mercy seat with their wings. And their faces shall look one to another. Toward the mercy seat shall the faces of the cherubims be. And you shall put the mercy seat above upon the ark. And in the ark you shall put the testimony that I shall give you. And there I will meet with you, and I'll commune with you from above the mercy seat.
Right. So if Yahweh, the Spirit of Yahweh, is then going to commune above the mercy seat, you have, Yahweh has constructed a way that you don't ever touch his seat. Even though there has to be the priests that move it, so they got to be of a certain authority to even go near it, then even they know not to touch it. And it has to be made a certain way. It had to be constructed a certain way, carried a certain way. You don't just do things the way we think, feel, and believe. We got jobs. We don't go in there with how we think, feel, and believe. They got instructions. All right. You work on this assembly line, you put this door on this car. That's all you do, put the door on. There's 2 screws here, 2 screws there, 3 nuts here, 4 bolts there. Put it on like we taught you. You do that, you're going to keep your job. When you decide you just going to feel your way through the door.
Now I'm going to put it on with spirit this time. I'm going to glue these on.
All right, you're going to be unemployed next week. Go ahead.
You know, looking at verse 15, it says that the staves should never have been taken out. So with the case of Uzzah, were they taken out, or they saw the staves and they didn't know what the heck they were for?
Well, you got to think about the heathen ended up taking the ark. So when the heathen took it, they put it on the cart. Us not going back to follow the instructions, we kept it on the cart when the heathen put it on the cart. See? So we following what the heathen's doing. We ain't even went back to get the instructions. We just get in it and go. I mean, you don't think you need to go back and figure out how we supposed to do this? We so happy to get the ark back. And see, that's sometimes a problem. You so happy to get something back that you done lost, that you didn't take time to read the instructions on how you need to operate that thing that you just got back. Now imagine all that time is gone. As soon as they get it back, somebody die. Now you know how confusing that is?
But wait a minute, Yahweh, why you ain't kill them people? They had it. They was on the cart when they had it. You ain't kill none of them. As soon as we go get it back, you kill us?
Right, because you're supposed to know the instructions. I gave you a covenant. How about you go read those instructions I gave you? Stop crying to me. Go back and read them instructions I gave you. Go ahead.
From between the two cherubims which are upon the ark of the testimony, of all things which I will give you in commandment unto the children of Israel.
All right. Let's go to our 1 Kings chapter 8. So then we see within those cherubs, we then see 2 wings. So we've seen a seraphim with 6 wings. We've seen a cherub with 2 wings. First Kings chapter 8, and we're going to read verses 1 through 25. We're going to start with 1 through 25.
1 Kings chapter 8 and verse 1. Then Shlomo assembled the elders of Israel and all the heads of the tribes, the chief of the fathers of the children of Israel, unto King Shlomo in Jerusalem, that they might bring up the ark of the covenant of Yahweh out of the city of David, which is in Zion. And all the men of Israel assembled themselves unto King Shlomo at the feast in the month of Ethanim, which is the 7th month.
Which they call Forever Brooks or something, which is what they named Ethanim. And we know what the 7th month, this is Tabernacles. Go ahead.
And all the elders of Israel came, and the priests took up the ark. And they brought up the ark of Yahweh, and the tabernacle of the congregation, and all the holy vessels that were in the tabernacle, even those that the priests and the Levites bring up.
I'm sorry, who brought it?
Priests.
The priests. See, there's some order in moving things. You can't just go and say, well, you know, I think I can do it. Let's go ahead and get together. Let's do this thing. No, they got enough order and knowing who's supposed to do what. Go ahead.
And King Shlomo and all the congregation of Israel that were assembled unto him were with him before the ark, sacrificing sheep and oxen that could not be told nor numbered for multitude. And the priest brought in the ark of the covenant of Yahweh unto his place, into the oracle of the house, to the most holy place, even under the wings of the cherubims. For the cherubim spread forth their 2 wings over the place of the ark.
They spread forth their 2 wings over the place of the ark. Go ahead.
And the cherubims covered the ark and the staves thereof above. And they drew out the staves, that the ends of the staves were seen out in the holy place before the oracle, and they were not seen without, and there they are unto this day. There was nothing in the ark save the 2 tables of stone, which Moshe put there at Horeb, when Yahweh made a covenant with the children of Israel, when they came out of the land of Egypt. And it came to pass, when the priests were come out of the holy place, that the cloud filled the house of Yahweh. So the priests could not stand to minister because of the cloud, for the glory of Yahweh had filled the house of Yahweh.
And when you consider, whenever the children of Israel were directed to move, there was either a cloud or a pillar of fire. This is how they know when to move. You see the cloud and the fire move, you knew to move. Well, no asking no questions. You think we ought to just hang out in the... No. When you see, did that fire move? Did that smoke move? We out of here, Jack. Now, you can keep playing around if you want to. Pack it up. And Yahweh let them know when it was time to move. That thing went to moving. All right, break it down. Let's go. Pull everything. And you have to consider something. Everything that they have built up, man, they might have been in that same place 6, 7 months, man. They might have been there 2 years in one spot. Time to move. And you know us, we get accustomed to stuff real easy, Jack. Real easy. You know, tell some of us that we got to move right now. We fighting everybody in the house.
No, this is my room. I done got accustomed to my room. I ain't leaving this room.
No, didn't you see that cloud and that fire? I don't care how accustomed you've gotten to being here. The spirit moving. We moving. Break it down. And you got to pull down everything that you done set up. All your little house that you done built. You got to pull it all down. Everything. Now let's go. And you don't know where you're going. See, some of us would just be batty crazy every time we got to move. We need therapy. Somebody have to do therapy on the whole trip because we flip it out because the place we've gotten accustomed to has now been changed. But see, Yahweh was actually working on the children of Israel and giving us therapy in even doing that. But we didn't see that part of it. We're just saying, oh, it's cruel. We should be in the place. It ain't but 11 days journey. We should be there by now. No, your heart and your mind not ready to be there yet. You just think it is. And that's why we're going through some of the things that we're going through. We think that we're ready for everything. We want everything, but that don't mean you're ready for everything that you want. Go ahead.
Verse 12. Then spake Shlomo. Yahweh said that he would dwell in the thick darkness. I have surely built you an house to dwell in, a settled place for you to abide in forever. And the king turned his face about and blessed all the congregation of Israel, and all the congregation of Israel stood. And he said, Blessed be Yahweh Elohim of Israel, which spake with his mouth unto David my father, and has with his hand fulfilled it, saying, Since the day that I brought forth my people Israel out of Egypt, I chose no city out of all the tribes of Israel to build an house, that my name might be therein. But I chose David to be over my people Israel. And it was in the heart of David my father to build an house for the name of Yahweh Elohim of Israel.
Right. Yahweh chose David to be over his people Israel. The people chose Saul. See, it never did dawn on us that the king wasn't ready to be king. But let's give us a king like all the other nations. We want to be just like everybody else. And we still the same way to this day. Everybody else wears certain kind of jeans. Your kid's gonna be knocking on your door.
Can I add OG? I mean, everybody wearing them. I want some of them skinny ones. The real skinny ones. To where the pockets is right behind your knees. You know those? I want some of those. Please give me some of those skinny jeans.
And sometimes we have to sit down and tell a kid, look, first of all, you are too skinny for skinny jeans. And then some of y'all too fat for skinny jeans. You ain't got no business in them. No man should have on skinny jeans anyway. But what we do, we look at everybody else. Dude can't even walk up steps. He look like he a penguin walking up. What is wrong with this dude? Right, he can't bend his legs. But we see everybody else doing it. That's what we want. Same thing in this book. We saw everybody else got a king. We want one. You always say, yeah, but the king you get, he's going to be horrible. I ain't had time to work on a king for you yet. You know, you kind of got to work on some stuff. You can't just grab a man and throw him and give him a crown and a scepter and he rule right. No. He got to kind of go through some stuff to learn how to lead. He's got to learn how to follow first. You don't just get up and know how to lead. It don't work like that. Hey, Yahweh, whatever that is, give us a king. All right, give them what they ask for. That's what they want. Give them what they ask for. See, that's the power that we got with Yahweh. Sometimes you keep asking for something, and he said, you know what? I'm about to be done with you in your mouth. You want it? You got it, Scab. Go ahead, give it to him. Now run, because they're about to kill themselves and everybody around them. Go! Legion got tired of you asking. He got tired of us asking for a king, and he's telling us. He said, don't worry. They're not going to listen to you because they're not going to listen to me. But tell them anyway. And they're going to keep asking and give them a king and then take off running. Because it's finna be hell to pay as soon as that king is set up. Because I haven't had a chance to prepare a king for them. Go ahead.
1 Kings chapter 8 and verse 18. And Yahweh said unto David my father, Whereas it was in your heart to build an house unto my name, you did well that it was in your heart.
So that was enough for Yahweh. See? Yahweh judges the intents of man's heart. He said you did well that it was even in your heart to want to build me a house. Yahweh already accounted it unto him for righteousness. He didn't do it. He just had a desire to do it. And sometimes you have to ask people, what is in the desires of your heart? Does it have anything to do with Yahweh or just all stuff concerning us? Go ahead.
Nevertheless, you shall not build the house, but your son that shall come forth out of your loins, he shall build the house unto my name.
Right. Dawid shed too much blood because of the wars that he encountered. And because of all that bloodshed, his hands was not clean enough to build the house of Yahweh. Yet Yahweh added a blessing unto him because he wanted to. Go ahead.
And Yahweh has performed his word that he spake. And I am risen up in the room of Dawid my father, and sit on the throne of Israel, as Yahweh promised, and have built an house for the name of Yahweh Elohim of Israel. And I have set there a place for the ark, wherein is the covenant of Yahweh, which he made with our fathers, when he brought them out of the land of Egypt.
You have to consider how, when you talk about this covenant, it's these words that we're supposed to live by. They are put in the ark, and then Yahweh comes and sits on that. You just got to pause for a second and think about that. See, when we hear the thing, I talked to the Lord last night, it becomes trivial, so people don't really consider he's communing with you from above the covenant. You just need to rattle that around in your head for a little minute. He comes and sit on the covenant and says, all right, let's talk. Once I sit on the covenant. Now you want to talk to me, deal with me through the covenant that I'm sitting on. Right. Read.
And Shlomo stood before the altar of Yahweh in the presence of all the congregation of Israel, and spread forth his hands toward heaven. And
so he didn't have his hand like that right here?
No.
Yeah, but I thought you had the praying hands. The praying hands like this right here. So these not praying hands?
No.
Somebody should have told me before I got that tattoo. Somebody should have told me before I got this stupid tattoo on my arm. But see, that's what happens when you're young and dumb and somebody got ink. You see? And when you keep reading it here, wait a minute. They didn't pray like that. What's that you always say, kids? When you ask for something, you have your hands out. What kind of kid said, Mama, can you give me some gum? You ever seen a kid, Mama, can you give me some gum? Why you gonna put it in his hands? How you gonna get it? Just put it right down the tip, Mama. I'll put it right. Come on, Mama. Something wrong with that child. Go ahead.
Verse 23. And he said, Yahweh Elohim of Israel, there is no Elohim like you, in heaven above or on earth beneath, who keepeth covenant and mercy with your servants that walk before you with all their heart, who has kept with your servant Dawid my father that you have promised him. You spake also with your mouth, and have fulfilled it with your hand, as it is this day. Therefore now, Yahweh Elohim of Israel, keep with your servant Dawid my father that you have promised him, saying, there shall not fail you a man in my sight to sit on the throne of Israel, so that your children take heed to their way, that they walk before me as you have walked before me. And now, O Elohim of Israel, let your word, I pray you, be verified, which you spake unto your servant Dawid my father. But will Elohim indeed dwell on the earth? Behold, the heaven and heaven of heavens cannot contain you. How much less this house that I have built? Yet have you respect unto the prayer of your servant, and to his supplication, O Yahweh my Elohim, to hearken unto the cry and to the prayer which your servant prays before you today. That your eyes may be open toward this house night and day, even toward the place of which you have said, my name shall be there, that you may hearken unto the prayer which your servant shall make toward this place.
Right. So then when we stand up and we pray toward the east, we're praying toward the holy city. We're not praying toward the sun. We're not praying toward any of those things. There was a reason that these things were set up, and that prayer was given, that so it wouldn't even always be the east. It matters where that person was situated. They prayed toward the house of Elohim. So if one person lived right there and another one lived right there, one of them is praying toward this way, the other one praying toward this way. They're not all facing in the same direction. So there's certain things that we've just not considered. Because see, you got some people and some cultures that they openly worship the sun. And I have encountered some people who told me that in their culture, they get up 6 o'clock in the morning and they're bowed down until the sun rises up. And after that, they can get up and go back in the house. I tell them, I say, see, black people, we wouldn't be able to worship that God right there. That God right there. I tell them, so we got to get up even though we ain't got to go to work? Oh, no. Man, this God gonna have some problems. We're gonna have some problems. I got to get up before he get up? No, this ain't gonna work out right here. This ain't gonna work out. We're gonna be in trouble with that God all the time. But see, there's various cultures that worship the sun. Every time you see the Pope, he comes out with a staff and it's a sunburst. What do you think that big gold thing with all them lions sitting out? He is worshiping the sun. When he came to Yankee Stadium, they set up the whole thing. The whole stadium was filled. Then they did a scan out shot. And when they scanned out, he was standing in a flame of fire. A sunburst. He is sitting in it. Hey man, I don't play like that. Don't put me in no kind of fire. No imaginary fire, no real fire. I don't want to be nowhere near no fire. People talking about they want to be cremated. I don't want to have nothing to do with fire in life or death. Keep the fire part to yourself. I don't play like that. When they was putting that together and they put my seat and I find out, excuse me, brother, is that a picture of a flame right there where I'm supposed to be sitting? No, I can't sit right there. I'm not sitting in the fire, bro. Why would you think that's okay? See, so there's certain things that are being presented unto us and we don't understand why. All that time I was looking at this Prometheus thing and I'm trying to figure out why the flame on it. Right. But other people know exactly what they're doing. They're just not telling us. They know exactly what they're doing. We're going with faith, hope, and belief, and they making merchandise and teaching us pagan customs all at the same time. Go ahead.
1 Kings chapter 8 and verse 30. And hearken you to the supplication of your servant and of your people Israel, when they shall pray toward this place, and hear you in heaven your dwelling place, and when you heareth, forgive. If any man trespass against his neighbor, and an oath be laid upon him to cause him to swear, and the oath come before your altar in this house, then hear you in heaven, and do and judge your servants, condemning the wicked, to bring his way upon his head, and justifying the righteous, to give him according to his righteousness. When your people Israel be smitten down before the enemy, because they have sinned against you, and shall turn again to you, and confess your name, and pray, and make supplication unto you in this house, then hear you in heaven, and forgive the sin of your people Israel, and bring them again unto the land which you gave unto their fathers. When heaven is shut up, and there is no rain, because they have sinned against you, if they pray toward this place, and confess your name, and turn from their sin, when you have afflicted them.
Now, check this out. You know, these are not things that Yahweh can do to get to us anymore. Because, you know, hey, we got a Walmart. We can go down there and buy us some vegetables at any time. It never does, you know, occur to us that rain has been cut off, that Yahweh has cut off our sustenance because we are not walking the way that we're supposed to be walking. We can go and get us some vegetables that were grown in a warehouse. So that causes us to keep sinning. And we still eating. See, when your food get cut off, you start trying to figure out, wait a minute, man, we need to figure something out. We hungry. But as long as you can keep doing everything that you're doing, you know, hey, my job providing for me. I got this kind of money. I got this kind of car. I'm straight. So we keep on walking in it. But Yahweh about to move all of these things out of his way. See, it's other things, as it is written, he has made man upright, but man has made many inventions. So a lot of these other things keep Yahweh from being able to even discipline us. He said, you know what, this job you got is getting in my way. Every time I get ready to try to get your attention, this what seems to be getting in the way. I tell you what, give me the job. Now can you hear me? Now, if we do what we're supposed to do, we have an opportunity to keep our stuff and still hear him. But sometimes that don't work for us. We got to go, because we so tough, we got to fight all the way down to the wire. And if we would just back up and repent, he ain't got to do all of that to get our attention. Go ahead.
Verse 36. Then hear you in heaven, and forgive the sin of your servants, and of your people Israel, that you teach them the good way wherein they should walk, and give rain upon your land, which you have given to your people for an inheritance. If there be in the land famine, if there be pestilence, blasting, mildew, locust, or if there be caterpillar, if their enemy besiege them in the land of their cities, whatsoever plague, whatsoever sickness there be, what prayer and supplication soever be made by any man, or by all your people Israel, which shall know every man the plague of his own heart, and spread forth his hands toward this house.
Okay, he's spreading forth his hands toward the house. Once again, the hands not closed. You don't ask for nothing with closed hands. You don't plan on receiving nothing. Go ahead.
Then hear you in heaven, your dwelling place, and forgive and do, and give to every man according to his ways, whose heart you knoweth. For you, even you, only knoweth the heart of all the children of men.
You know what? You have to consider something. If we're asking for something, isn't it a sign of a weak faith if you ask for something, but you didn't even have your hand out? I mean, even when you ask a person something, there's a certain amount of belief that they're going to give it to you. Hey, man, can you pass me that remote? There's a certain belief that that man is going to pass you that remote. So you got your hand in a place where you about to receive something. But then you pray with your hands closed and wonder why he ain't give you nothing. Oh, they don't even think they're going to get nothing. Huh? So now I'm supposed to pry their hands open and put it in there? No, you ain't want it. Nobody finna pry your hands open and put something in it. You wasn't ready to receive what it was you asked for. You have to wonder why Christ would say, do you believe I can do this? When you believe, you got your hand out. Go ahead.
That they may fear you all the days that they live in the land which you giveth unto our fathers. Moreover, concerning a stranger that is not of your people Israel, but comes out of a far country for your name's sake, for they shall hear of your great name, and of your strong hand, and of your stretched out arm, when he shall come and pray toward this house. Hear you in heaven your dwelling place, and do according to all that the stranger calls to you for.
Right. So even the stranger has power in Yahweh's house. If they, think about it, they come from a far land to make a trip to come to Yahweh's house, he automatically says, hear their prayer. They've come from a long way just to come and pray towards you. Hear their prayer. Not that they are Israel, that we're going to ask you to hear the prayer because they're Israel. No, if the stranger has chastised his own heart to come towards you, hear their prayer. Go ahead.
That all the people of the earth may know your name, to fear you, as do your people Israel, and that they may know that this house, which I have built, is called by your name. If your people go out to battle against their enemy, whithersoever you shall send them, and shall pray unto Yahweh toward the city which you have chosen, and toward the house that I have built for your name, then hear you in heaven their prayer and their supplication, and maintain their cause. If they sin against you, for there is no man that sins not, and you be angry with them, and deliver them to the enemy, so that they carry them away captives unto the land of the enemy, far or near. Yet if they shall bethink themselves in the land whither they were carried captives, and repent, and make supplications unto you in the land of them that carried them captives, saying, we have sinned, and have done perversely, we have committed wickedness, and so return unto you with all their heart and with all their soul in the land of their enemies, which led them away captive, and pray unto you toward their land, which you gave unto their fathers, the city which you have chosen, and the house which I have built for your name.
Now, consider something. He says, you're stretched out, you've been spread out because of wrongdoing, but if you then Seek unto Yahweh with all your heart and your soul. Now, that's got a whole different connotation to it, because now you're captive. You ain't nowhere near the temple. So all those other things they couldn't do. So all your heart and your soul basically encompasses all that you have the ability to do. You might end up being captive and you can't keep the Sabbath. So he's not holding that against you. What do you have the ability to do? That's all your heart and your soul. Our problem is we don't know our abilities, especially when it comes down to righteous things. Go ahead.
Then hear you their prayer and their supplication in heaven, your dwelling place, and maintain their cause. And forgive your people that have sinned against you, and all their transgressions wherein they have transgressed against you, and give them compassion before them who carried them captive, that they may have compassion on them. For they be your people, and your inheritance, which you brought forth out of Egypt from the midst of the furnace of iron, that your eyes may be open unto the supplication of your servant, and unto the supplication of your people Israel, to hearken unto them in all that they call for unto you. For you did separate them from among all the people of the earth, to be your inheritance, as you spake by the hand of Moshe your servant, when you brought our fathers out of Egypt, O Adonai.
Right. For you did separate them from among all the people. It never does occur to us why the entire earth mimics everything that we do. Everywhere around the earth, everybody mimics you. And you have no idea. We still trying to be like everybody else, and the whole earth trying to be like us. We haven't figured out who we are as a people. You trying to be like people, and the people trying to be like you. Go ahead.
Verse 54. And it was so that when Shlomo had made an end of praying all this prayer and supplication unto Yah, he arose from before the altar of Yah, from kneeling on his knees with his hands spread up to heaven.
He making this point, how the prayer is done. See? Go ahead.
And he stood and blessed all the congregation of Israel with a loud voice, saying, Blessed be Yahweh, that has given rest unto his people Israel, according to all that he promised. There hath not failed one word of all his good promise, which he promised by the hand of Moshe his servant. Yahweh our Elohim be with us, as he was with our fathers. Let him not leave us, nor forsake us. That he may incline our hearts unto him, to walk in all his ways, and to keep his commandments, and his statutes, and his judgments, which he commanded our fathers.
These statutes and judgments show us how we're supposed to treat our fellow brothers and sisters. And people think we just kind of go by what we think, feel, and believe. He has already given us instructions on how to deal with one another. Go ahead.
And let these my words, wherewith I have made supplication before Yahweh, be near unto Yahweh our Elohim day and night, that he maintain the cause of his servant and the cause of his people Israel at all times, as the matter shall require, that all the people of the earth may know that Yahweh is Elohim, and that there is none else. Let your heart therefore be perfect with Yahweh our Elohim, to walk in his statutes, and to keep his commandments, as at this day.
Right, and we know that in the flesh there's nothing perfect. But you know what we can do? We can always give it a perfect try. A perfect try is the best that you can do. A perfect try is an acceptable sacrifice. And y'all, we don't have to accept everything that we offer. We can go to the front of the book and find that. Abel had an offering, Cain had an offering. Yahweh didn't respect one of them. I ain't accepting that. You have to consider how many things have we offered that Yahweh just looked at. You know when Rael be around him, and he like the shortest little kid in here, and every now and then he'll just look at you like you short. He be like, bro, you the shortest one in here, bro. You gonna look at me like I'm short. Right. Consider if Yahweh do your offering like that. Nick. Hey, man, what was that? He ain't accepting that. He didn't accept Cain's offering. Yahweh don't have to accept everything that you offer just because you offered it. That's something we have to consider. Let's go to Ezekiel chapter 1.
8:41.
Bad when a shout person look at you like you shout. Look at me like you like 2'2". You look at me like I'm shouting.
Verse 1. Now it came to pass in the 30th year, in the 4th month, in the 5th day of the month, as I was among the captives by the river of Chebar, that the heavens were opened, and I saw visions of Elohim. In the 5th day of the month, which was the 5th year of King Jehoiachin's captivity, the word of Yahweh came expressly unto Ezekiel the priest, excuse me, the son of Buzi, in the land of the Chaldeans by the river Chebar, and the hand of Yahweh was there upon him. And I looked, and behold, a whirlwind came out of the north, and a great cloud, and a fire enfolding itself. And a brightness was about it, and out of the midst thereof, as the color of amber, out of the midst of fire. Also out of the midst thereof came the likeness of 4 living creatures, and this was their appearance. They had the likeness of a man.
The first thing you see is this fire. Okay? There is going to be fire, and we just liking the one thing of the adversary and punishment, and we deal with fire there. But every time you consider the situation of Yahweh, you're going to see fire. To the point that when the things happened with Job, there was fire that came out of heaven and burnt up some things. You know what the people end up saying? They said the fire of Elohim came down and burnt men. That was Lucifer. That wasn't Elohim. But they thought it was. So we automatically liken all fire to the adversary. So there are certain things, if the adversary can get all of our thought process in one way, then when he gets ready to start showing us some miraculous things, some of us gonna get the wrong impression. And that's what he's doing it for. Go ahead.
Verse 6. And everyone had 4 faces, and everyone had 4 wings.
So now we got 4 faces and 4 wings. Man, I ain't trying to run into none of this stuff, man. And people they just ready to go to heaven. Hey, man, look. When we see somebody and we know they ain't right, we say that person two-faced it. This is 4 faces, and that's normal. I don't want none of this. And they got wings. Go ahead.
And their feet were straight feet, and the sole of their feet was like the sole of a calf's foot, and they sparkled like the color of burnished brass. And they had the hands of a man under their wings on their 4 sides, and they 4 had their faces and their wings.
Right. Now, when you start listening to all of these people that's telling you, oh, these are aliens and these are all of these things, and they showing you all of this stuff, and people are mesmerized. They say, oh, look at all these miraculous things that they're showing us on this program. I can show you some miraculous things right here in your book. You ain't got to watch that television program to see all that little miraculous things that they trying to get you to slickly worship the adversary, the devil. I can show you some miraculous stuff right here. Go ahead.
Verse 9. Their wings were joined one to another. They turned not when they went. They went everyone straight forward. As for the likeness of their faces, they 4 had the face of a man, and the face of a lion on the right side, and they 4 had the face of an ox on the left side. They 4 also had the face of an eagle. Thus were their faces, and their wings were stretched upward. 2 wings of every one were joined one to another, and 2 covered their bodies. And they went every one straight forward. Whether the spirit was to go, they went, and they turned not when they went. As for the likeness of the living creatures, their appearance was like burning coals of fire, and like the appearance of lamps. It went up and down among the living creatures, and the fire was bright, and out of the fire went forth lightning.
Right. When you start dealing with a lot of these things, where they talk about a wheel inside of a wheel. There were physical creations that people have made based on reading that part where there's a wheel in the midst of a wheel, and they created like these forklifts that don't turn because they listen to the thing in the Bible and say, okay, let's make a wheel inside of a wheel so the thing can go straight and then just turn around and go this way, and it never turn. And it go whichever way because it's got another wheel inside of that wheel. So they start looking. You have no idea how many things have been done because they have read this book. The stuff that they have within our so-called legal system. You'll get to reading this book and say, oh, that's where they got this from. They'll just take it and twist it, but you need to know where they got it from. So we'll see one of those things and see how the thing moves without turning, and it's going, it always went straight, but it went whatever direction it needed to go, never turned. Wheel inside of a wheel. Go ahead.
Verse 14. And the living creatures ran and returned as the appearance of a flash of lightning. Now as I beheld the living creatures, behold, one wheel upon the earth by the living creatures with his 4 faces. The appearance of the wheels and their work was like unto the color of a beryl, and they 4 had one likeness, and their appearance and their work was as it were a wheel in the middle of a wheel. When they went upon their 4 sides, and they turned not when they went. As for their wings, they were so high that they were dreadful, and their rings were full of eyes round about them 4. And when the living creatures went, the wheels went by them. And when the living creatures were lifted up from the earth, the wheels were lifted up. Whithersoever the spirit was to go, they went. Thither was their spirit to go. And the wheels were lifted up over against them. For the spirit of the living creature was in the wheels. When those went, these went. And when those stood, these stood. And when those were lifted up from the earth, the wheels were lifted up over against them. For the spirit of the living creature was in the wheels. And the likeness of the firmament upon the heads of the living creature was as the color of the terrible crystal, stretched forth over their heads above. And under the firmament were their wings straight, the one toward the other. Every one had 2, which covered on this side, and every one had 2, which covered on that side, their bodies. And when they went, I heard the noise of their wings, like the noise of great waters, as the voice of the Almighty, the voice of speech, as the noise of an host. When they stood, they let down their wings. And there was a voice from the firmament that was over the heads when they stood and had let down their wings. And above the firmament that was over their heads was the likeness of a throne, as the appearance of a sapphire stone, and upon the likeness of the throne was the likeness as the appearance of a man above upon it. And I saw as the color of amber, as the appearance of fire round about within. From the appearance of his loins even upward, and from the appearance of his loins even downward, I saw as it were the appearance of fire, and it had brightness round about. As the appearance of the bow that is in the cloud in the day of rain, so was the appearance of the brightness round about. This was the appearance of the likeness of the glory of Yah. And when I saw it, I fell upon my face, and I heard a voice of one that spake.
All right, let's go to, that was Ezekiel 1. Let's go to Genesis chapter 3. Genesis chapter 3. And we're going to read verses 7 through 24.
Genesis chapter 3 and verse 7. And the eyes of them both were open, and they knew that they were naked. And they sewed fig leaves together and made themselves aprons.
So this is after they have eaten from this tree of knowledge. Now they have a certain form of understanding, and we always think that all knowledge is good. But what we have to understand is knowledge given out of time can cause some serious problems. If you have a child that learns something before they are of age to actually comprehend that thing, you may end up being in some serious issues with that child because they have gotten a hold of something that they probably shouldn't know till 5, 6, 7 years from now. That causes a problem. So you have some people say, why would God want to keep them from knowledge? Certain things need to be appropriate to the time. Of course, they were going to eventually find out that they were naked. You see, children that are naked, they are naked and unashamed. They don't know they're naked. They're not ashamed. The minute that they realize, because kids will play naked time. They'll just take off running through the house and just streak, butt naked, just take off, laughing, and you got to go catch them. But once they figure out they naked, they're like, don't come in here. I'm putting my clothes on. Now you know that child has now got to a certain level of understanding. So, this is very easy to understand if you went from one day to the next and now all of a sudden you're hiding yourself. It's very apparent that, hey, something done happened here. What happened to the childhood innocence? And maybe that was the part that Yahweh was trying to prolong. Look at the childhood innocence. If they don't know that they naked, guess what? They don't even have any desire toward each other as a man and a woman. They don't even understand what nakedness is. That's innocence. Naked and innocent. When that innocence is removed,
Yeah, put some clothes on now because they thinking things now. They mind not right now. Separate them two. They about to, yeah.
right. That what happened when they were naked and innocent. See? So there's a certain amount of problems that certain knowledge brings forth. Go ahead.
And they knew that they were naked, and they sewed fig leaves together and made themselves aprons. And they heard the voice of Yahweh Elohim walking in the garden in the cool of the day.
Check that out. In the beginning, man was already in the presence of Elohim. That's something we messed up. Go ahead.
And Adam and his wife hid themselves from the presence of Yahweh Elohim amongst the trees of the garden.
And that's what sin does. Separate you from your Elohim. But what's funny is, you the one that separate. Yahweh didn't start running from us. We ran from him. Same thing happened to this day. We get off into some mess and then we the one go hide from him. Go ahead.
And Yahweh Elohim called unto Adam and said unto him, Where are you? And he said, I heard your voice in the garden, and I was afraid, because I was naked, and I hid myself. And he said, Who told you that you was naked? Have you eaten of the tree whereof I commanded you that you should not eat? And the man said, The woman whom you gave to me, she gave me of the tree, and I did eat.
And that's us. We're going to pass that buck. We're going to pass that buck. I'm the man of the house. We beat on our chest. I'm the man of the house. But it was the woman you gave me, though. She the reason I eat from that tree. I thought you told me you were the man of the house. Well, I was until she came in there with that delectable fruit. Right. I'm a part-time man of the house. Right. Right. It wasn't my shift. It wasn't my shift. Right. Right. Go ahead.
And Yahweh Elohim said unto the woman, What is this that you have done? And the woman said, The serpent beguiled me, and I did eat.
Everybody passing the buck. Now here she goes, she passing it too.
Well, I didn't do it on my own. It was that fiery serpent that be hanging around your throne. He came over here and convinced me to eat this delectable fruit.
Go ahead.
And Yahweh Elohim said unto the serpent, Because you have done this, you are cursed above all cattle and above every beast of the field. Upon your belly shall you go, and dust shall you eat all the days of your life.
Now pause. Now consider the definition of a seraphim. A fiery serpent. Now when you get to the point of the deception that was done in the garden, now you have this serpent. When you read seraphim, you don't come across a whole lot of things. Now you see cherubims all throughout this book. But seraphim you don't hear but 1 or 2 times. And then you understand this thing about this serpent, and then the confusion that was purposely caused in the garden. Go ahead.
And I'll put enmity between you and the woman, and between your seed and her seed. It shall bruise your head, and you shall bruise his heel. Unto the woman he said, I will greatly multiply your sorrow and your conception. In sorrow you shall bring forth children, and your desire shall be to your husband, and he shall rule over you.
To this day, childbirth is still painful to the woman. When you deal with the serpent, it says, on your belly you shall go. That's now. So the serpent moved a different kind of way before then. And if you want to talk about something strange, just watch a snake move with no legs. It is something that makes your flesh crawl. And if you hadn't seen it in an open field to see how fast this thing moves, but it has no legs. It basically defies everything else the way that every other animal on the earth moves. A fish moves in water. This thing moves on land. And I mean, a snake is not a slow animal. When you see how fast a snake moves and it does not have not one leg, there's something pretty strange about that. Go ahead.
And unto Adam he said, because you have hearkened unto the voice of your wife, and have eaten of the tree of which I commanded you, saying, you shall not eat of it, cursed is the ground for your sake. In sorrow shall you eat of it all the days of your life.
So now the ground got to go through stuff because he didn't do what he was supposed to do. See, you can do something to the point where you end up causing your whole house a part of your curse. You start doing some mess, now everything in the house done got difficult because of your decision. And everybody getting a piece of this. See, everybody trying to pass the buck, but he getting every last one of them. Serpent, you come here. Adam, you come in. Ed, you come here. Everybody getting a piece. So y'all go ahead and pass the buck all you want to. Everybody getting a little piece of this punishment right here. Go ahead.
Thorns also and thistles shall it bring forth to you, and you shall eat the herb of the field. In the sweat of your face shall you eat bread.
Now you got to work for it. Whereas the ground was a living entity, you just stuck your hand down there and pulled out whatever you wanted. Now you're going to have to work for it. Now the ground can't be what it's supposed to be because you didn't follow your instructions. The ground sitting here like, what I do? I ain't doing nothing. Now I can't produce like I'm supposed to produce because of this knucklehead. Go ahead.
Till you return unto the ground. For out of it will you taken, for dust you are, and unto dust shall you return.
Now he gives the ordination for a burial. It wasn't no ordination for a burial before because he wasn't supposed to die. But now, since you done something, you done brought forth death into the garden, so when you die, you get buried in the ground. What we do? We watch people on TV.
I want to be cremated. I want it to be holy. Just put my body and burn it and push it out into the ocean.
What y'all always say? You came from the dirt. That's where you supposed to go to. That's what you were made out of. That's where you supposed to be buried at. See? But we watch all the other people on the earth. They think it's feng shui. Put my body on a raft and set it on fire and push it in the ocean. Right? And y'all going to go and get every last piece of you out that water so you can stand for judgment. There go a piece of them right there. Get that piece. There go a piece right there. I think that's a leg. Get that leg. And put all your little pieces right back together. Now stand up and take this judgment. He told you where you came from and how you're supposed to be buried. Well, we get all this fancy stuff about setting ourselves on fire. Part of that come from these hustlers that done made burial a $20,000 thing. Man, these folks in this book, they were poor people and was able to bury Christ. They got what? Some ointment, some spices, and a linen wrap. How expensive you think that was? You go over here to the preacher man and the burial dude, and they need $20,000 to bury somebody. And we think them men of God. Those hustlers. It didn't take all that to bury nobody. That's why people crying so hard at the funeral, because they like, somebody got to pay for this. Some people crying because they missed that person. Other people crying because they miss what's finna come out of their pocketbook. There's 2 levels of tears going on in there. People ain't supposed to go through that, man, just to bury somebody they love. They already hurt. They got to miss this person. Then they got to be broke too. And we think that's holy. That ain't holy. They making merchandise of the people. Go ahead.
Verse 20. And Adam called his wife's name Eve, because she was the mother of all living. Unto Adam also and to his wife did Yahweh Elohim make coats of skins and clothed them.
So now he is giving them an adequate covering, and covering them with the coats of skins. Those are animals. Now we're dealing with an animal sacrifice, but Yahweh didn't even explain animal sacrifice. He don't explain animal sacrifice till way later. But when sin is committed, there has to be blood that is shed to make atonement for sin. He didn't explain all that. What did he explain that to them for? All right, I clothe you with coats of skins. Well, an animal had to die for that. You don't just get skins out. Like, there ain't no skinless animal just walking around the garden now because Yahweh took the skin and the animal's still walking. That's not what happened. There's a sacrifice. Something has to die to make an atonement for sin. This is why when Yahshua came, he had to sacrifice himself to become the ultimate sacrifice for the sins of the children of Israel and then ultimately for the rest of the world. That's why they wanted to talk him out of the death. No, I have to die. You don't really understand what my purpose is. I can't live. Don't worry about it. I'm going to get my life back, but I got to die. See, a lot of times what we're thinking for our own selfish reasons, we don't want to miss that person. We don't want to miss. We see the Mashiach. We see the great things that he had done. We don't want to miss him. You don't understand? If I don't die, you're stuck with your sins. I got to die. Now, if you read your instructions, you would already understand this. You wouldn't be sitting here crying trying to tell me not to die. Read your instructions. You would understand what it is I got to do. Go ahead.
And Yahweh Elohim said, Behold, the man is become as one of us, to know good and evil. And now, lest he put forth his hand, and take also of the tree of life, and eat, and live forever. Therefore Yahweh Elohim sent him forth from the Garden of Eden to till the ground from whence he was taken.
Right. So now he's gotten pushed out of this holy land. And this is basically a prophecy of all things. We in the holy land, we don't do what we're supposed to do. He pushed us out. In the beginning of the book, they in the paradise of Elohim. Don't do what they're supposed to do and get kicked out. Wow, that sounds familiar. Go ahead.
So he drove out the man, and he placed at the east of the Garden of Eden cherubims, and a flaming sword which turned every way to keep the way of the tree of life.
So now we want to be close to all them holy things. Now we got one of them beings making sure that we don't come anywhere near these holy things. Consider that. But that was out of our disobedience. Let's go to our Ezekiel chapter 28. But what we see then is there is a cherub that is forcing us away from this thing. Let's go to Ezekiel chapter 28. And we're going to read verses 1 through 19.
Verse 1. The word of Yahweh came again unto me, saying, Son of man, say unto the prince of Tyrus, Thus says the Adonai Yah, because your heart is lifted up, and you have said, I am a Elohim, I sit in the seat of Elohim, in the midst of the seas, yet you are a man, and not Elohim, though you set your heart as the heart of Elohim.
Right, and when you consider some of these things, there's a point that we're reading and it's dealing with a man, and then you'll notice that at some point it'll make a turn. But when you consider when Daniel offered up his prayer, Gabriel said, from the minute you offered up supplication, the decree had already gone forth to come and deal with you. But I was withstood by the prince of Persia. So these evil kingdoms got evil angels ruling and directing them, and Yahweh has angels protecting us. And then he says, after all of these things, I was with hell 21 days. So here it is. How many things have we thought about that we think we waiting on Yahweh to answer us? And the whole time, Yahweh already said, yeah, go get that sister what she asked for. But that angel got to fight about 4 demons before he get to you. And we think we waiting. I wonder if Yahweh heard my prayer. Hey, man, get an angel time to get to you. And then after that, what did he say? Afterwards, I got to go fight with the prince of Grecia. And you look at these kingdoms that have come upon the earth. Part of the rulership of Babylon was Persian. Then part of the Babylonian rule was Grecian, the Greeks. So them angels have to fight to keep from these evil empires completely destroying us. And we have no idea that it's a whole spiritual warfare going on around us, because he's trying to get, the adversary, the devil, is trying to put these kingdoms in power so they will utterly destroy us. And because we don't see the protection, we don't even know that it's there. Go ahead.
Behold, you are wiser than Daniel. There is no secret that they can hide from you. With your wisdom and with your understanding, you have gotten you riches, and have gotten gold and silver into your treasures. By your great wisdom and by your traffic have you increased your riches, and your heart is lifted up because of your riches. Therefore, thus says the Adonai Yah, because you have set your heart as the heart of Elohim, behold, therefore I will bring strangers upon you, the terrible of the nations, and they shall draw their swords against the beauty of your kingdom, of your wisdom, and they shall defile your brightness. They shall bring you down to the pit, and you shall die the deaths of them that are slain in the midst of the seas. Will you yet say before him that slayeth you, I am Elohim? But you shall be a man, and no Elohim, in the hand of him that slays you. You shall die the deaths of the uncircumcised by the hand of strangers, for I have spoken it, says the Adonai Yah. Moreover, the word of Yahweh came unto me, saying, Son of man, take up a lamentation upon the king of Tyrus, and say unto him, Thus says the Adonai Yah, You sealeth up the sum, full of wisdom and perfect in beauty. You have been in Eden, the garden of Elohim.
Okay, you have been in Eden, the garden of Elohim, full of wisdom and perfect in beauty. First thing we think about when we hear about the adversary, the devil, is this is one ugly son. Keep reading.
Every precious stone was your covering, the sardius, topaz, and the diamond, the beryl, the onyx, and the jasper, the sapphire, the emerald, and the carbuncle, and gold. The workmanship of your tabrets and of your pipes was prepared in you in the day that you was created. You art the anointed cherub that covers.
The anointed cherub that covers. The cherub covers the mercy seat from where Yahweh communes with the children of Israel. But see, the anointed cherub, he don't want to cover the seat no more. He said, no, I want to sit in it. That's what happened when see, some folks get close to you because they want what you got. See, he keep getting closer to the seat. He don't want to cover the seat. He want to be in the seat. See, when you deal with the wise and the foolish virgins were around to steal the oil from the wise virgins. So while we think we shindigging and we hanging out, somebody there to steal your spirit. And you hanging around with the thief. Smiling at the thief. How many times we done got our house broke in on, and then you find out it was the dude down the street that you let in there? You see him wearing your polo sweater. Wait a minute. I recognize that sweater. What? I know I shouldn't have let Tyrone in my house. Right. Every person you let in there, they got close enough to you So they can figure out that lock on that window in that bedroom, it don't work right. I'm coming back in here. There's a time I done let somebody in my house and I could see when they were looking around, they were coming back. Look at this. I said, oh, he's taking inventory. Get out. Get out now. I can tell he was taking inventory the way he was looking at everything. I mean, he's looking with a covetous look. When somebody is looking at your stuff trying to figure out, I think that'll fit me. Are you sizing on my stuff? Are you sizing my stuff while I'm in it? Right. Great.
You are the anointed cherub that covers, and I have set you so.
I have set you so. See? So then eventually, Yahweh got to do the same thing that we have to do. There's some people hanging around that's trying to steal your spirit. You know what? I'm going to need you to get out by my chair. See, you keep hanging around by my chair because you're trying to sit in it. You know what I'm going to need you to do? Lucifer, get on by my chair, man. Go, I'll get somebody else to cover my seat. Go over there. Because you hanging around here and your little covetous look is causing a problem. Go ahead.
You was upon the holy mountain of Elohim.
Uh-huh.
You have walked up and down in the midst of the stones of fire. You was perfect in your ways from the day that you was created.
Now, what did it say in the situation of Job? When it came down to the thing of Job, he said, where have you been? To and fro, walking up and down in the earth. Right. He said, you walk to and fro, back and forth, up and down in the stones of fire. Yeah, I've been going back and forth. Go ahead.
Till lawlessness was found in you.
Uh-huh.
By the multitude of your merchandise, they have filled the midst of you with violence, and you have sinned. Therefore I will cast you as profane out of the mountain of Elohim, and I'll destroy you, O covering cherub, from the midst of the stones of fire.
From the midst of the stones of fire, you're going to lose your ability to walk back and forth, up and down in it. Go ahead.
Your heart was lifted up because of your beauty.
Right. And we think, okay, this is the ugliest thing we ever seen. Yahweh said, you got vanity because you were so beautiful. That's the last thing we think about when we think about the adversary of the devil, that we're going to see something covered in beautiful stones and gold. And you know, that's all we got to do to look good. We'll say, oh man, that person don't look good. Put some diamonds on them. Oh my goodness, they are gorgeous. Oh my goodness, look at that. Oh, they blinging. Look at that. Oh my God. Oh my God, is that bling? Wow, look at that. Right. Get a few diamonds, you look, oh my God. Oh my God. Every gold chain you get better looking, I tell you. See, brothers done figured that out. They say, you know what, I was ugly until I got these chains. Right. Look up and the brother got 8 chains. Right. He figured out I look better every last one of these I get, brother. Right. Go ahead.
You have corrupted your wisdom by reason of your brightness. I will cast you to the ground. I will lay you before kings, that they may behold you.
Mm-hmm.
You have defiled your sanctuaries by the multitude of your lawlessness.
Right. The adversary of the devil got sanctuaries. I keep telling people, you need to ponder on that for me. How he has sanctuaries? Where they at? Okay. Go ahead.
By the lawlessness of your traffic.
Lawlessness. So when the people who keep trying to post the commandments, but then tell you that you don't have to keep them, it's lawless. Why would you have a picture of the commandments and then tell people, oh, remember the Sabbath don't count anymore? Right. Your lawlessness. Right. And that's hypocrisy connected with lawlessness. That you would even post the commandments, then tell people not to keep them. There's something seriously wrong there. Go ahead.
Therefore will I bring forth a fire from the midst of you. It shall devour you, and I'll bring you to ashes upon the earth in the sight of all them that behold you. All they that know you among the people shall be astonished at you. You shall be a terror, and never shall you be any more.
Right, because Yahweh is then going to turn this angel into a man. Since you hate flesh so much, his punishment is to turn him into the flesh that he hates. Let's go to Isaiah chapter 14. But see, there's a process that has to take place before this ultimate punishment is given unto the adversary. Isaiah chapter 14, and we're going to read verses 12 through 23. Because see, now what we're then looking at, we're talking about a covering cherub that has lost his ability to be that thing. Isaiah 14, and let's start that at verse 12.
How are you fallen from heaven, O Lucifer, son of the morning? How are you cut down to the ground, which did weaken the nations? For you have said in your heart, I will ascend into the heaven. I will exalt my throne above the stars of Elohim. I will sit also upon the mount of the congregation in the sides of the north. I will ascend above the heights of the clouds. I'll be like the Most High.
You see? You see what his desire is? So what he does then is he makes mirror images and false religious practices to make himself be set up like Elohim. So then we start taking part in rituals, not knowing that it is him setting up the worship of him because he wants to be just like the Most High. So he gives us these rituals. We'll pick up these things from church gatherings, and none of us say, excuse me, Pastor, could you show me what that is in the book? I just want to know where that come from. I kept many watch night services, and nobody ever explained to me what watch night was. I didn't find out until I got out of the word. Till I got out of that church, got into this real word, started doing some research, and it still wasn't overly apparent what it was. I had to find out about other gods. Then I found out about the two-headed god Janus that January is named after. Then I understood what watch night was. I always wondered why it was called watch night. The two-headed god Janus that they named January after he looks in the future and in the past. That's why you have to celebrate him on midnight New Year's Eve. Now you got to ask yourself, where did every pastor get this thing from? And you can't find it nowhere in this book from Genesis to Revelation. Where they get that from? And how I go from church to church, and every last one of them did the same ritual. Countdown is as they counting down to midnight. He told us to turn around and look at the back door. He said, now you're looking at your past, and then they counted down to New Year's, and he said, turn around and look at your future. Now, how did that ritual end up in every last one of them churches? But we can't find it nowhere in this book from Genesis to Revelation. But I can go into the pagan gods and find you a two-headed god that looks into the past and the future. And that's the only time you're going to hear the pagan god Janus. Only time you're going to see him worship is midnight New Year's Eve. Because that is the part where you look into the past and the future. Because it's the last year and then the new year. Now, where they get these rituals from? Because they sure didn't get them out of this book. And I celebrated that year after year after year. Thought I was doing something better. Because I stopped going to the club New Year's Eve. I thought I was, I'm partying with the Lord. Thought I was doing something better. Couldn't figure out I'd been better off going to the club. He got me here doing pagan rituals. At least there I was just partying, having a good time. I wasn't worshiping the devil. And nobody will explain where they got that ritual from. Go ahead, bro.
You know, all year long, you don't see that commercial until December.
You do not. Most people have still never seen that commercial. When the college games come on, there's a Janus Mutual Fund. You can look it up on the internet. There's a Janus Mutual Fund. The commercial does not come on until the college championship is about to come on. And then in that Janus Mutual Fund, they puts up the coin. And you will see the two-headed coin. The coin looking in the past and in the future. It never shows up until that part of the year. But this is a mutual fund where they make money all year round. But they don't play the commercial until January. That's what January is named after. Why do you think the beginning of the year is in January? It is named after a pagan god. Our New Year is in April, the end of March, beginning of April. And they made fun of ours by calling us April Fools. And then we celebrated it. Yahweh told us when the new year was. He said the new year is when you keep the Passover. When is the Passover? That's our new year. That's the biblical new year. But instead of us receiving that, we went off with the world and started making fun of the biblical direction that was given. But every man got an opportunity to make his choice. Yahweh ain't gonna make nobody make no choice. Lucifer don't really make you make a choice. All he does is give you information. At the end of the day, you make a decision. He don't make you. Lucifer don't say, you gotta do this. Yahweh don't say, you gotta do this. No. Here it is. Make a decision. Do what you gotta do. Let every man choose whatever it is he want to choose. But you should at least get the information to make an educated decision. We don't just go out and buy a car. We get some information on the car. Okay, how fast this thing go from 0 to 60? Okay, how fast it go from 60 to 0? Okay, what the seats feel like? Okay, how many complaints on this car? Then at least when you bought the car, you made an educated decision. When we make decisions about religion, we make it out of feeling. We have absolutely no information whatsoever. We just make it based on how we feel. Make an educated decision. Give me some information about this. Let me find out, okay, what's the difference between a Baptist and a Methodist? Okay, what's the difference between a Methodist and an Episcopal? Okay, I just want to make an educated decision. Just give me some knowledge so that when I make my decision will make sense to me. That ain't what we do. We just do it out of feeling. And that's why we're still stuck in the same things, making decisions out of feelings. That's what keeps us in bad relationships. We know we with an idiot. And we try to act like we don't know that's an idiot. That is an idiot in the other room. And we know that's an idiot in the other room, and everybody else knows that's an idiot in the other room. But I love him. I love her. Her and him is absolutely local. But feelings gonna keep us there. But educated decisions say, this knuckle crazy. Right. Go ahead, bro.
Verse 15. Yet you shall be brought down to the grave, to the sides of the pit. They that see you shall narrowly look upon you and consider you, saying, is this the man that made the earth to tremble?
Is this the man? See? Yahweh got to knock him down some levels because he got some power. You don't just come and deal with the adversary. No. He's got to drop some levels first so that he can be dealt with. Go ahead.
That did shake kingdoms, that made the world as a wilderness and destroyed the cities thereof, that opened not the house of his prisoners. All the kings of the nations, even all of them, lie in glory, everyone in his own house.
So all the nations in the place where they're supposed to be. It never does, cross our minds that, this ain't really nobody's land. Like everybody migrated here to come to this place. So when Yahweh says everybody in his own house, you do know you're not from here, right? So there's some stuff that's going to have to happen. And I'm telling you, the nations are lining up getting ready to destroy this place. And we just getting just as comfortable. And everybody else is preparing for its destruction. NFL setting up in Europe, all the businesses going to Europe. They getting themselves ready for the destruction of this place. Everybody getting ready except us. Russia setting up right in the back door. You know how fast they can shoot from Venezuela? They won't even know where hit him. He shoot from Venezuela. Done deal. And let me tell you something. With all the wars that America has fought, she ain't never had to fight man in her backyard like this. See, she had a little spat with her mama, fighting with Europe. That's a different fight when you fight with your mama. She not really trying to kill you, you know what I'm saying? She just trying to get control of her living room. You know what I'm talking about? That's all that is. No. When you fight another country, she trying to kill you. And we done got so spoiled, we're not gonna know how to act when we just turn on the TV and it don't come on. What you mean my phone don't work? Hello? I can't test. I got money in the bank, but I can't get it out. This how y'all work. Oh, now you understand what broke life is. Well, you got thousands upon thousands, but you can't get to them because the communication shut down. Oh, we're not used to that. But that's what America does to every other country. See, we don't look at those news programs that this is what they do when they put sanctions. They make it to where them people can't get to their own money. They do this to every other country that they try to force into submission. Guess what? What goes around comes around. And eventually, it has no choice but to come here. She's done it to everybody. The Venezuelan people got money in European banks that they won't even give them their own gold. How you tell somebody we're not gonna give you your money. We just gonna hold it right now. Excuse me, I'm hungry. I need my money. How would you act if you went to Wells Fargo? And you know you got an account. You say, no, here go my account, 136744917. Now I'm gonna need you to give me that money. Oh no, yeah, we see the money now. Look like you got about $12,000. Oh, you was pretty well off. But we're not gonna give you that. What? But that's my money. Yeah, but we don't really like what you're doing right now. Excuse me? And we seem to think that that's okay. That's not okay. That's robbery. And this country is doing it to another country. But that country is also linked up with Russia and China. The two who want this place gone. And they got the right idiot in office right now to help facilitate all that madness. And see, we look up at the thing that, yeah, he gonna create a emergency so he can build a wall. Let me explain to y'all something. When he creates an emergency, he can't just build a wall. He has ultimate power when he creates an emergency. We're not paying attention. You realize he don't even have to leave office when he declares a national emergency? The Constitution is suspended when you declare a national emergency. That means either one of us. Hey boy, you, go get in that cell. What for? I ain't got to tell you what for. Shut up and go sit down. Constitution is no longer valid. We keep thinking about the wall, and we don't think it affect us because we like, look, I got a license. I ain't got no green card. I ain't got to worry about that. You're not really paying attention. He don't have to follow any laws when he does this. And he already don't like following laws anyway. So once he does that, he can do whatever he wants. He ain't got to leave office. They have an election. He say, you know what? I really don't like this whole election thing. Throw it out. Right. But this is what America deserves. Because she has done it to everybody else. Her turn. She needs an idiot in office. All hail the king idiot. They need one. So he can see what they've done to everybody else. And he is dividing this country, at an alarming rate. They need one. Because all of the stuff that America ended up trying to influence other people's elections and overthrowing their countries, now it has happened to her. Russia put their man in office. A man married to a Russian woman. How could we not think that they put a Russian in the presidency? And we still going on business as usual. And everything around us is changing. Go ahead, bro.
Ecclesiastes chapter 14 and verse 19. But you are cast out of your grave like an abominable branch, and as the raiment of those that are slain, thrust through with a sword that go down to the stones of the pit, as a carcass trodden under feet. You shall not be joined with them in burial, because you have destroyed your land and slain your people. The seed of evildoers shall never be renowned. Prepare slaughter for his children for the lawlessness of their fathers, that they do not rise, nor possess the land, nor fill the face of the world with their cities, For I will rise up against them, saith Yahweh of hosts, and cut off from Babylon the name and remnant and son and nephew, says Yah. I will also make it a possession for the bittern and pools of water, and I will sweep it with the besom of destruction, says Yahweh of hosts.
Right. All of a sudden, we start getting these storms that are very, very diverse in nature, causing an enormous amount of problems. Let's go to Revelation chapter 4. And when you consider, this big problem that sits in the middle of America, this underground volcano that's called a caldera, it is a bomb underground of enormous proportions, and everybody on earth knows it's sitting there. And where they go to try to protect cities, Russia may send a bomb right to the underground bomb, and it will divide the whole country in 3 parts. They keep having these little exercises. And the exercises, when you look at what they're doing, the exercises show a redrawn map of the United States, and half of it is underwater. Why they keep going through those exercises? Right. And none of us sit here and pay any attention. But you know what happened when a bomb hit a bomb? This thing is an underground volcano. People go and visit it. When it builds up, all the pressure build up. That's what them geysers are shooting off. Whoosh. It's just underground pressure. Just go. And some of them go, that's why they call it Old Faithful. They go like every hour. Whoosh. This is how much pressure is up under the earth. You think they don't know it there? They sitting there like, shoot at that thing right there. Shoot at that. They're like, no, we can mess up this whole city. No. You can mess up the whole country. Hit that thing right there. All of them know it's there. And everybody know it's only a matter of time before it blows on its own. But they're not going to wait for it to blow on its own. They're going to help it out. And that's why they're fighting so rigorously to try to control what's going on in Venezuela. They've tried to basically poison these people's economy by shutting them down, but it hadn't worked. They try to starve people into submission, into agreeing whatever their policy is. Sooner or later, karma got to come to everybody. Revelation chapter 4, and let's start that at verse 1.
After this I looked, and behold, a door was opened in heaven, and the first voice which I heard was as it were of a trumpet talking with me, which said, Come up hither, and I will show you things which must be hereafter. And immediately I was in the Spirit, and behold, a throne was set up in heaven, and one sat on the throne. And he that sat was to look upon like a jasper and a sardine stone. And there was a rainbow round about the throne, in sight like unto an emerald. And round about the throne were 24 seats. And upon the seats I saw 24 elders sitting, clothed in white raiment, and they had on their heads crowns of gold.
Right, and a lot of people speculate as to who the 24 elders are. I leave that alone. If Yahweh wanted us to know who they was, he'd have put it in the book. Go ahead.
And out of the throne proceeded lightnings and thunderings and voices. And there were 7 lamps of fire burning before the throne, which are the 7 spirits of Elohim. And before the throne there was a sea of glass like unto crystal. And in the midst of the throne, and round about the throne, were 4 beasts full of eyes before and behind.
4 beasts full of eyes before and behind. And this is something you want to run into. We run into a pit bull and get scared. And you think you finna run into something that's got eyes before and behind, and you cool with that? No, thank you. Go ahead.
And the first beast was like a lion, and the second beast like a calf, and the third beast had a face as a man, and the fourth beast was like a flying eagle. And the 4 beasts had each of them 6 wings about him, and they were full of eyes within, and they rest not day and night, saying, Holy, 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 Adonai Elohim Almighty, which was and is to come.
Right. So in the grand scheme of things, if all we're going to say is fancy things, Oh, glory. Hallelujah. Hey, he got animals to say that. He got beasts to say. He don't need you to do that. Matter of fact, they going to be on point. They going to say, holy, holy, holy on time. We're going to get tired after about 30 minutes. Holy, 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 holy. Holy, holy, holy. Oh, wait a minute, man. You can't even keep the rhythm right. He don't need you for that. He got beasts to do that. Go ahead.
And when those beasts give glory and honor and thanks to him that sat on the throne, who liveth forever and ever, the 24 elders fell down before him that sat on the throne, and worship him that lives forever and ever, and cast their crowns before the throne, saying, You are worthy, O Adonai, to receive glory and honor and power, for you have created all things, and for your pleasure they are and were created.
All right, let's go to chapter 12. Revelations chapter 12, and let's start at verse 7.
And there was war in heaven. Michael and his angels fought against the dragon, and the dragon fought and his angels.
Right, so then the adversary has led a revolt. He's got angels with him, and then there are the angels that accept the rulership of Michael and fight on Yahweh's side. Now, we don't want to be in between two big dudes fighting, much less being in the middle of a bunch of angels fighting. Now, count me out of that. You see two big dudes and they start talking loud, you be like, you know what, let's move back, because they about to move some furniture up in here. You see a group of angels. Excuse me, Yahweh, let me out of heaven. I didn't sign up for this, because this look like it's about to be ugly. These are angels that's about to fight. How are we gonna be in between that? And I'm talking about you got all these mean looking beasts. Where they coming from? Where they going? Go ahead.
And prevailed not, neither was their place found any more in heaven. And the great dragon was cast out, that old serpent called the devil and Satan, which deceives the whole world. He was cast out into the earth, and his angels were cast out with him. And I heard a loud voice saying in heaven, Now is come salvation and strength and the kingdom of our Elohim and the power of his Mashiach. For the accuser of our brethren is cast down, which accused them before our Elohim day and night.
Right. After the adversary presents some strange things before you, then he turns around and he the first one to go and tell on you. He present a bad situation and then he's snitching immediately. Go ahead. Go ahead.
Verse 11. And they overcame him by the blood of the Lamb, and by the word of their testimony, and they loved not their lives unto the death. Therefore rejoice, you heavens, and you that dwell in them. Woe to the inhabitants of the earth and of the sea, for the devil is come down unto you, having great anger, because he knows that he has but a short time.
Right. So as his time is start getting nearer, he then wants to fight with the children of Israel more and more. And we can't figure out why we having more problems than anybody else on the earth. He know his time getting short. And who does he have the most indignation with? The children of Israel. And then more specifically, those who actually keep the commandments. Go ahead.
And when the dragon saw that he was cast onto the earth, he persecuted the woman which brought forth the man-child.
Right. So who he wants to persecute more than anybody else is Israel. And he uses his nations to do it. That's why the angels got to work so hard to protect us. See, those nations have passed laws and things to try to put more and more weight. And them angels have to sit there and fight to keep us out of all these problems. And we don't even know we're being protected. Half of the time, we make our protection harder. The angel trying to protect us, we go deeper into the fight. We walking with the demon. Calling the demon, what time we going to the club night? Man, I'm trying to protect you from that. Man, you just called it? Did you just call it? Did you just get a demon direction to your house?
Yeah, 3486 Fontaine Lane. Come on, yeah.
Can't figure out why the demons are there. You just gave the demon your direction to your house. Go ahead, bro.
And to the woman were given 2 wings of a great eagle, that she might fly into the wilderness, into her place where she is nourished for a time and times and half a time, from the face of the serpent. And the serpent cast out of his mouth water as a flood after the woman, that he might cause her to be carried away of the flood.
Right. Understand something. The adversary, the devil, knows what you are to Yahweh. So he's really trying to get to Yahweh. You just somebody in that's stuck in the middle. His real thing is he want to be just like the Most High. He want to sit in his seat. So when you start dealing with warfare, hey, I can't really beat you, okay? But I tell you what I can do. I can get to these people that you done chose, though. See? I can affect you through what I'm going to do to them. Because they just mere flesh. They don't know how to fight spirit. Go ahead.
And the earth helped the woman, and the earth opened her mouth, and swallowed up the flood which the dragon cast out of his mouth. And the dragon was angry with the woman, and went to make war with the remnant of her seed, which keep the commandments of Elohim, and have the testimony of Yahshua the Mashiach.
So some of us will look at that and say, well, the adversary of the devil is making war with those that keep the commandment. So all I got to do is not keep the commandment, and I will not be at war with the devil. That mean you on his side, though, boo-boo. That's what that mean. He don't make war with those who are on his side. That mean when he get defeated, you burn with him. No, that's not how we want that to go. I'd rather fight with Yahshua and go through problems than to have peace for a season with the devil and then suffer for eternity. But let us hear the conclusion of this matter. Let's go to Psalms chapter 18.
Psalms chapter 18 and verse 1. I will love you, O Yahweh, my strength. Yahweh is my rock and my fortress and my deliverer, my Elohim, my strength, in whom I will trust, my buckler and the horn of my salvation and my high tower. I will call upon Yahweh, who is worthy to be praised. So shall I be saved from mine enemies. The sorrows of death compassed me, and the floods of ungodly men made me afraid. The sorrows of hell compassed me about. The snares of death prevented me. In my distress I called upon Yahweh and cried unto my Elohim. He heard my voice out of his temple, and my cry came before him, even into his ears.
In our distress, do we call upon him? And when we call upon him, does our call become abomination because we're going to tell him part of the story? So this is how your prayer become abomination. When we going to mention one thing, but we ain't going to mention this other thing. We'll pray about one part, but we ain't going to pray about the other part.
Because I don't want Yahweh to know that.
He already know it. Go ahead.
Then the earth shook and trembled. The foundations also of the hills moved and were shaken, because he was angry. There went up a smoke out of his nostrils, and fire out of his mouth devoured. Coals were kindled by it.
Right. And you know, what gets us is we've listened to these people to say, God's not angry with you. God is love. So what happens is, we don't understand when righteous judgment comes upon the earth, and we've heard of the sun turning black as a sackcloth of hair, the moon turning blood red. We've heard of all these things, yet we let people tell us, God not angry. Have you seen the condition of the earth and the things that's going on in it? Why would he be happy about that? Who would be happy about that? But to convince us to just keep doing what we're doing, the false shepherds of the earth have told us God is not angry. But if I made this and I look down at how it's operating, I sure would be angry. Why y'all doing this to each other? Why are y'all doing all of this? I wouldn't be happy. What make us think he is happy about the condition that the earth is in? Go ahead.
He bowed the heavens also and came down, and darkness was under his feet. And he rode upon a cherub.
Hold on. So this is his vehicle then. See, now I don't get mad at people when brothers say, I got me a nice fiery chariot. I understand. Yahweh got one too. He got a nice little chariot there. Go ahead.
And did fly. Yea, he did fly upon the wings of the wind. He made darkness his secret place. His pavilion round about him were dark waters and thick clouds of the skies. At the brightness that was before him, his thick clouds passed, hailstones and coals of fire. Yahweh also thundered in the heavens, and the highest gave his voice, hailstones and coals of fire. Yea, he sent out his arrows and scattered them, and he shot out lightnings and discomfited them. Then the channels of waters were seen, and the foundations of the world were discovered at your rebuke, O Yahweh, at the blast of the breath of your nostrils. He sent from above, he took me, he drew me out of many waters. He delivered me from my strong enemy, and from them which hated me, for they were too strong for me.
And I think that's where we limit ourselves, that Yahweh is going to put us in a position where we're going to have to go against those that are stronger than us. This is why you got to walk in righteousness, because it's the angels that fight for you. It's not the physical ability that you have. This is why it was told, hey, look, this guy has taken this Babylonish garment and he's hid it even among your own stuff. Look, I will no longer be with you, and the angel will no longer be with you until you go and get this cursed thing and get it out from among you. We lost like 33 people that died in that little battle that was supposed to be a little one. They were like, look, don't even send all the people up. We're going to go up there. We're going to slap them up, man. We're going to be done with this fight. This is a little town. We done beat big towns now. But then we walked up with that cursed thing, and that little bit of group of people end up having us run away, and we had 30-some people die. But you know what was interesting? Not one of those people was the one who actually stole and brought the Babylonish garment. So the one who brought the cursed thing didn't die. He just caused 33 other people to die. That's something that we don't consider. And then Yahweh had to tell the leader right off the rip, unless you remove the cursed thing, I ain't never gonna fight with you again. All that stuff about you, Israel, and you, my people, yada, yada, yada. Go get that cursed thing, or you're gonna die here. Simple as that. Get it out from among you and move it. Do we even have the spiritual wherewithal to understand when we done gathered a cursed thing unto us? Go ahead, brother.
Verse 18. They prevented me in the day of my calamity, but Yahweh was my stay. He brought me forth also into a large place. He delivered me, because he delighted in me. Yahweh rewarded me according to my righteousness, according to the cleanness of my hands has he recompensed me. For I have kept the ways of Yahweh, and have not wickedly departed from my Elohim. For all his judgments were before me, and I did not put away his statutes from me. I was also upright before him, and I kept myself from mine lawlessness. Therefore has Yahweh recompensed me according to my righteousness, according to the cleanness of my hands in his eyesight. With the merciful, you will show yourself merciful.
Listen.
With an upright man, you will show yourself upright. With the pure, you will show yourself pure. And with the froward, you shall show yourself froward.
Right. That's why they believe they in the right position doing all the wrong things. He said, if your heart ain't right, when you come toward me, I'm going to show you exactly what's in your own heart. When you talk about this river of glass that's in the midst of this holy place, what does glass do? Reflection, right? So that stuff that you show up to him with in your heart, that's exactly what you're going to see. You show up with hatred, you're going to think he all about that, because all you're seeing is a reflection of what's inside of you. You show up and you ain't got no love in you, you going to think he agree with it. You going to think ain't no love in him either. You get what you came with. Go ahead.
For you will save the afflicted people, but will bring down high looks. For you will light my candle. Yahweh my Elohim will enlighten my darkness. For by you I have run through a troop, and by my Elohim have I leaped over a wall. As for Elohim, his way is perfect. The word of Yahweh is tried. He is a buckler to all those that trust in him. For who is Elohim save Yahweh? Or who is a rock save our Elohim? It is Elohim that girds me with strength and maketh my way perfect. He makes my feet like hinds' feet, and setteth me upon my high places. He teacheth my hands to war, so that a bow of steel is broken by mine arms. You have also given me the shield of your salvation, and your right hand has holden me up, and your gentleness has made me great. You have enlarged my steps. You have enlarged my steps under me, that my feet did not slip.
And when we consider these things, we don't see where he's removing everything from us. What we see is that he's given us power to go through the things that we encounter. And what we want to do a lot of times is avoid everything. But ain't no power in avoiding everything. The people who have gone through things eventually become strong. The people who have not gone through anything, they just show up weak. And the first sign of problems, they fold. When you talk about this so-called Great Depression, our people didn't even know it was, somebody had to tell them, oh, we in a Great Depression. They were like, for real? We've been broke. We looking at people jumping out of buildings, killing themselves. Ah! The stuff they were killing themselves for was the stuff we wanted. They killing themselves. They said, oh, I lost so much money. I said, well, how much money you got? I ain't got but $10,000 in the bank. You kill yourself and you had $10,000? We was like, for real? We were trying to get $10,000. You kill yourself because that's all you had? Wow. Right. When you don't go through nothing, you end up weak. And I tell you, man, I was putting together some things, you know, last night, and Lael came in and told me about what Brother Mikael and Sister Lauren, their baby stopped breathing for like a good while of time. And I mean, I couldn't, man, I just sat there and cried for a little while. I couldn't even get back into doing my class. I couldn't work on anything. I just had to cry for a while, you know. Sometimes we go through things, man, and we think what we got going on is so tough. And then you look, to have to look at a baby that has absolutely no power to fight anything, and you're having to sit there and watch that baby go through, man, I couldn't do nothing but cry, you know. And I want to tell that brother and sister that, you know, hey, we praying for them, and I you know, I pray that, you know, Yahweh gives them all the strength that they need to make it through that. You know, I want to pray for Brother Hananiah. He recently lost his mother, and Sister Becky, you know, lost her father. You know, there are people that have some things that, you know, they're going through. And sometimes, man, we have our little trials and we think we're really going through something. I remember a guy years back in the Word, somebody was going through something and he was like, praise Yahweh. And I was like, bro, how you going to praise Yahweh for trouble? But these were older seasoned dudes in the Word, you know, and I was younger. I was still sprinting chicken then, you know, so I was around there clucking, and they like he don't know nothing, you know. But then you start seeing things and you start learning, you know, you see your problems and you're like, hey, my problems could be a whole lot stronger and worse than what they are. So you learn how to, okay, this is my problem. Praise Yahweh. Thank you, Yahweh. All right, let me go deal with this problem. See, you don't learn how to be thankful until you look across that aisle and see somebody else going through something, and then you realize, oh no, them real problems over there. And you got them little piece of problems that you sitting here whining about. And you think you got some issues, and you whining about them little piece of issues. And so much of your murmuring begins to tick Yahweh off. Reading this book when it talks about murmuring and complaining, eventually it got on Yahweh's nerves. Here it is, he trying to deliver us, and all we doing is complaining. All we doing is complaining. And that's why sometimes we don't understand the blessing that we have. And he listened to that murmuring and complaining long enough, and he said, you know what? Go ahead and get in what they asked for. And I'm going to show them that they finna be destroyed with what they asked for. I had been taking care of them, and they don't understand what I had been saving them from. So go ahead and give it to them. Now step back and watch them destroy themselves. Because he gets tired of the murmuring. I used to hear these old guys, and it's starting to affect me because I'm starting to pay attention. I would run up to them old guys, and I would ask them, you know, how you doing? And they answered, fantabulous, brother. That brother's speaking a different spirit in his life. And you ask other people, how you doing? Well, bro, what's going on? They ain't really got no problem. They just whining. So now what them old dudes is saying, it's done start to affect me. Say, brother, how you doing? Living the dream, brother, living the dream. Hey, man, because I don't want to speak that negativity and keep bringing that in my life. The power of what comes out of your mouth is strong. And if you keep speaking that negativity unto you, you're going to bring it in your house. You're going to bring it in your life. Stop speaking that stuff. When you see negativity and you know people calling you and you know everything that they finna say is negative, what you pick up the phone for? We need negative block. Oh, no, I don't take those kind of calls. Negative block. Activate my negative block. Negative. Go to negative mail. Say, I got my positive mail and I got my negative mail. I don't check that negative mail for days. I don't check that right away. Because that ain't going to do nothing but vex my spirit. So I check my positive mail right away. Negative mail, I'll be like, oh, that's a mess. I'm going to check that next Tuesday. Because, see, I'm going to be in a better position by the time I check that. So it's not going to bring me down when I check it. See? That's all that we're going to do for today. Remember the Sabbath to keep it holy. Shabbat shalom.
Shabbat shalom.